pop a 33 mil aqua return eye shank in the vise. If you need any of the tying materials, the platform, the Ultra Rig, the link in the description, top link down below. Then to set up the Ultra Rig, I like to take some wire like you would use for a woolly bugger. Then I'll run my 50-pound Power Pro folded in half through that. It's basically looped in, and I'm going to take this wire because it's nice and stout. I could just run it right up the Ultra Rig tubing. So the Ultra tubing, and look, you just pull that right through. Boom. Then all you have to do, take the wire off, thread it through again, and just pull that tight. Then just push that tubing right up over the eye of the hook, and then I'll even push it slightly onto the shank. You're going to end up with that. That is the Ultra Rig. The way you're going to tie that down is just attach it right at where your rear station is going to start, go, and then you're leaving this section of the shank attached. So I have about 3/8 of an inch left in there. I'm going to wrap this wire up. Actually, a little ahead of myself here. Let me go close this return eye. I'll work my thread up. Close that down. I'll come back. And really quickly, actually, just throw something over that. So another piece of Ultra tubing, and we'll never hook ourselves. I'm going to work this all the way forward. Once you get to there, thread the braid through the eye of the shank. Pull that tight. Pull it under. Pull it tight back. A few tight wraps. Then you can get a better grip on it. Pull it even tighter. And then do the rest of your wraps. And then that's going to prevent that from ever pulling out. It's also going to create a really, really stable platform to put our eyes on. So speaking of eyes, we have the smallest red Aquafly's eyes. We're going to tie that in, leaving just a small amount of room in front of them. I like to just settle them first, a few wraps in each direction. Then I'll look at it head on, just make sure they're perfectly even. And that looks pretty good. So I'll go in 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3 around the base. 1, 2, 3. And those aren't going anywhere, but just to make sure, oh, that's never happened before. A few drops of super glue. I have casted these things off and broken them off on rocks and stuff before I super glued them. I've never lost any since super gluing them. Pink polar chenille, tie that in. Tie down the braid that comes on. And we're doing 5 turns. So 1, tie that down, a few wraps. I'll trim the excess. And from there, taking some of these Unreal Jungle Cock eyes. I'm a huge fan of this stuff. Again, same link down in the description. You can pick these up. Come in a range of sizes. They look awesome. They kind of act as paddles in the water, which is kind of a unique feature people don't think about. And they create a lot of movement and move a lot of water. So you can tie those down perfectly on each side. These are the mediums. And I like these to have some presence. So I tie them in pretty long. They're going back to essentially where my trailing hook is. Starting. And taking some orange dotted ostrich. We're going to take about 8 pieces of that. And those are going directly over the jungle cock on each side. And they're going to go slightly past hook length. So just like that. Capture that down a few times. You don't need to go crazy on each side because it's going to compound. So other side, those tied down. Now you can wrap up the tag ends. I'm going to trim those tag ends. And go with some of this kind of like red copper colored Bill's body braid. Capture that down. I'm just going to wrap that up tight against that rear station and then wrap it forward, slightly overlapping the last wrap. Work to about there, leaving about 1/8 of an inch before the eyes, maybe even a little bit more than that. I'm going to create a composite loop consisting of some electric grape fusion dub. I'm just going to put that on my fingers, pull it apart, lay it over itself, and then take half of it, put it down over the forward station, other half over the forward hackle, slightly overlapped. And take some of this awesome ripple fiber Doug from Aquafly sent me, and lay some of that right over the forward station. That stuff is just electric. I'm gonna take some Predator wrap. That's just about a 1/2 inch cut off of the braid that it comes on. 1.25 inches of that. Spread it out. Grab it with the other hand. I'm gonna lay that down as well. I'm gonna lay that down 70-30. There's more on one side than the other. At this point I can go in and spread some of that out, both the ripple and the Predator wrap. I do recommend, once you follow the link down below, and if you end up on Jerry's site, buy one of these cards. Helped me tie much better, more consistent sized flies. Take some white ostrich, 1.25 inches of that, cut it off the stem. I'm gonna line it up to the fly and see where I want it. I just want it to the start of the hook, right around the start or the end of the eyes. So that's about there. So that's where I'm gonna lay it down. So I'll transfer hands, grab where I want it. And now that I know how long I'll transfer it over here, cut it to the desired length, move all that stuff out. At this point, I actually like to grab the ostrich with a clip and then transfer it right over there, 90-10, open the clip, push it down, and now that's all sitting nice and evenly. Take some more of our fusion dub, break that apart. And this time we're gonna cut it in half. Kind of just catch it on my other finger. And that's gonna go right over the ostrich. And just spread it out a little. Sap's coming right up here to close that in. Press it down, roll it. We'll trap everything. I'm just gonna do a subtle little shift. I'm gonna take some Smurf fusion dub, pinch that and lay it down right in front of the ostrich. Very subtle, but that'll make the head of the fly shift colors slightly. So back over here, we're actually gonna go back a little ways, yeah, probably to here. 5-inch dubbing loop. Wrap the base, wrap that up. We're gonna wax this guy. Then we're gonna pick up our composite loop. Just try and get a few fingers under it. You could pick it up pretty easily. Lay that in like so. And I just like to tap the ends of my ostrich so that the tag ends are not as big. One finger at the base, and spin. Once you see that it has some bungee to it, it's usually tight enough. And we're just gonna come in with our bodkin, pick that out. Once you've picked out the majority of it, come in with a brush. Cool, now we're just gonna hold it vertically, find a natural kind of resting point for it. It's not spinning. And then we're just gonna fold everything back, right in half. And I'll wet my fingers, come in and slick it back. We're gonna wrap that. So just as you're wrapping this, you're just holding back each turn, making sure nothing's getting captured. We put all that in there. We want it to all flow and have its place on the fly, not just pointlessly trapped. Do this with intention and focus, and just peel back each layer. Pinch it back, fold it, wrap that up. And you should be approaching the final turns near the eye with your forward hackle. Have that fade to blue, it's pretty cool. And last turn near the eye right there. I'm gonna capture that down. And to me, 3 times is enough. 3 tight turns, it's not gonna come out. Trim that excess. I'm just gonna brush that out. So brush it all forward. And I'm just gonna take 2 pieces of red Flashabou. I'm gonna tie those in like a wing. So just the length of the fly on top. 2 tight wraps and pull the rest back. And 2 more tight wraps. And we're just gonna whip finish right there in front of the eye. Once you've whip finished, go ahead and come in and UV cure over that. Pull the tubing back and just push it right over the shank. And I'm going to push that all the way up, snug against that polar chenille. Cool thing about that is you can adjust the way it rides. So I'm going to make sure that points perfectly straight up. There we have it. That's the Ultra Mini Intruder. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Later.